But when we broaden the view, when we step away from that and we see the camera pulling back, we start to realize that our growth is not self-managed. We are cared for by an expert, life gardener. The gardener is there intentionally at work in our lives to make sure that we do stay connected, to make sure we do stay healthy, that makes sure we do stay thriving. And he's great at it. He's the one who created us. He knows us best. And he's being very intentional in what he's doing. And to me, that really helps put the focus on God's responsibility of caring for me. Not that we don't have a role to play, but to me, the bigger picture is God the gardener who's managing all of that.
Yes.
When something gets cut back in your life, do you see it as God's disappointment with you or his care? More than that, is every loss in our lives actually God pruning us? If not, how do we make sense of it? This is season 3, episode 13 of Unhurried. Ryan Viramontes is right here with me. By my side, I'm Doug Kyle, but we're not alone tonight.
No, we're not.
This is the first time doing it this way. This is so great. We have a live audience, so let's hear it from you. So,
yeah, this is fun.
That's really fun, right?
It's good. I could get used to this. Let's go live every week.
Let's go live. Okay, next week, same time. See you guys all here. This is awesome. We have we're in the video venue, which is different than normal. We're in the green room. Gathered there, pretty cloistered. Our knees are usually touching, so This is quite a.
I know
quite
you're so far away from me.
A distance from me here. We got a little bit more elbow room here, and we've got a bunch of enthusiastic people here to participate. So that's great. We also have refreshments. My wife has made decadent chocolate bundt cake, which is, how is it? Is it all right? Could I have a piece of that? I mean, I think maybe I didn't get any yet, so we get that. She made some jam-filled cook. Thank you very much. Beautiful. So you may be talking a lot.
That's okay.
Because I got to eat this. You take it over.
Yeah. Well, so one thing that I did want to talk about is that last week, if y'all were listening, I didn't bring up hockey at all. I think it might have been the first podcast in a long time that we did not talk about anything about hockey. And I have to give a shout out to my son who scored his first goal last week in hockey. Right. So, shout out, buddy. Yeah. So he's now a goal scorer, which is
Remy. Way to go!
I know.
Way to go!
And he scored 2 goals actually. So and he plays defense, which is pretty impressive, especially being a defensive player. For those of you who know, that's not an easy thing to do, to score from being in a defensive position. So yeah, it's been awesome.
Do you think there is a connection between you not mentioning hockey and him scoring a goal?
Oh, and well, now I just jinxed it.
You just jinxed it, yeah.
It's over. His scoring days are over now.
Yeah. Well, you're not the only one that noticed that. You didn't mention it last week. I actually got a listener comment from one of our listeners in Texas who made a comment saying, you didn't mention hockey on the podcast last week.
Hey.
Or this week. Yeah.
Right.
So they're paying attention.
See? That's what happens. Well, it's also the NHL playoffs too. So
we've already broken that tonight.
We're done. We're over.
Back to normal. So we have this nice recording sign that has been donated by someone, I don't know who, to the cause. So that's great. And we have a bunch of tables around here. We've got some cookies and strawberries and enthusiastic people gathering here. So if you're watching or listening, I want you to get a feel for the environment that we're in. How many of you here tonight are here because you are fans of the podcast? How many of you are here tonight because you want to see Ryan nervous?
Sign of true friends. True friends. Everybody on this side of the room.
Well, as it turns out, the roles have shifted.
Yeah. Oh, the turntables.
All this for a couple of weeks, I've been saying there's nothing to be nervous about, and now I'm nervous.
Well, you even said it yesterday in front of the whole church. You were like, if you guys want to see Ryan nervous, come tomorrow to the recording of the podcast. And then right now you sat down, you're like, I'm nervous. I'm like, I'm cool as a cucumber.
Which makes me more nervous. Yeah. Well, I think there are. This is the first time we've done it. It's awfully fun seeing you all here. Thank you for following along. For those who are listening online, as well as those who are in with us tonight live, we're so grateful to have people that are listening, tracking with us. I think there are some benefits of having a live audience that we don't normally get when we're doing this. Just the two of us.
Yeah.
First of all, they get to see, kind of some of the behind the scenes of what happens and what it's like. They see that we rehearse nothing, that this is, we don't talk about the topics ahead of time, as you just mentioned. They also get to see behind the scenes how we handle misspeaks or mistakes along the way, which is...
We just leave them in.
we don't do anything. So you go, man, that must take a lot of editing. No, not really.
We're just so thankful that you guys listen every week.
Absolutely. But also, this is great to get some visual feedback and audible feedback from you because, normally we're talking to the walls.
Yes.
And we're kind of trusting, this will somehow land out there. And to be able to see the faces of the people that are listening is really encouraging to us. And also to get a feel for your feedback. In fact, in order to get that feedback, I did ask individuals to fill out as they came in some of the things that they remember from the previous podcasts. And Ryan has not seen these yet. I'm kind of looking at them. I just had a chance to glance over them. But we asked people what are some of the funniest Unhurried podcast memories, as well as some of the ones the things we've talked about that have been most impactful.
Oh, cool.
So you want to hear what these are?
Yeah.
All right. So in no particular order, someone said the count from Switzerland of the number of ahs or in the broadcast.
Yes. Yeah.
Or you knows.
Right. You knows.
Yeah. How many times we said you know?
Right. Right.
It's fine. English is a hard language.
It is hard.
Yeah.
It's the only language I've ever known. And it's still hard for me.
Yeah, I think that came up a couple times. That was, here it is, the repeated phrase call out from overseas. So the good news is we have an international audience.
Yes.
The bad news is they're just listening to find fault with what we say.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and we don't know who started the Did you start it or did I start it?
What do you mean?
Because we both have picked up on you when we talk now. We go
I think I started it when I was at middle school or something.
Oh, okay. Well, then I picked it up from you then.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah. All right. Yeah.
Party on.
It's just part of the language, I think. All right. Someone said Jesus driving sun-kissed with all his disciples in the back.
Yes.
Yes.
So
remember
good.
that? We had a podcast about how would Jesus drive.
Right.
And that made it. Sunkiss is the name of the VW bus that I drive. For those who don't know, those listening online. Lots of hockey and Phil Wickham references.
Yes. To give a shout out to Joel, actually, on Sunday.
Yes.
He goes, I don't know if we even worshiped today because we didn't even sing a Phil Wickham song on Sunday, And I was like, but we did 3 last week, so we're good,
Did we even worship?
I know. Yeah. Crazy.
Did I even preach without a C.S. Lewis quote?
I know.
Is it even possible? Yeah. That's life.
Yes. Right? That's life.
Could you do it your impersonation?
That's life.
So much better. Oh man, I love it. The episode with from Europe. We got that one again. And when Ted gave Doug some hockey terms, and Doug worked them into his podcast with, and when Ryan noticed.
Yes, that was one of my favorite moments.
Yeah, that was great. So hockey has come up a lot.
Yeah.
Sometimes we think this is a hockey podcast and not a.
We are the #1 hockey podcast.
All right. Some of the things that this group says has been most impactful. A lot shorter list. Oh well. Explaining the things that Jesus didn't say.
Right.
Kind of going through the list of some of the phrases that Jesus didn't say that we think he did, but he didn't say.
Right.
That kind of goes along with more recently we talked about things that we wish Jesus hadn't said. Some of the hard statements of Jesus. And that's one of the great things about the podcast is just a chance to take the things that we talk about on Sunday and just go a little bit deeper, or just live with it a little bit more. And so these are series that we would cover on Sunday, but then we have a chance to explore them a little bit more deeply here. Just having the podcast riding shotgun on road trips. So I think I know who said that, but just taking long trips and be able to have us in the back seat along with them.
Oh, look at that.
I got more. Every time Ryan says, right.
I process out loud.
All right. Anytime Doug and Ryan talk about how the message applies to their lives, it's very practical for them. We have people that are contributing more of these in the moment. That's live is one more.
Nice.
And then learning about Winston's was one of the most impactful moments of their life.
My
Winston's
Winston
ice cream parlor.
Yeah.
And two sides of every puck.
Yep.
Hockey is big here. All right. Well, that gives you an idea. Bring back the mugs. We need advice for us. And I think that's a question for later, so we'll save that for there. So anyway, thanks everyone. Thanks for tracking with us, for following along some of those memories. I think at the end of season 2, and probably do at the end of season 3, we did kind of a review of the year and some of the things that stood out.
Yeah, we did. Yeah,
and I would say one of the most impactful things for me, I'm looking at Amanda across the room here, but it was when she joined us and we interviewed and we had a chance to talk about that. That was one of the best podcasts. I tell people, if you only had a chance to listen to one, listen to that one.
Yes, yeah.
That was great. It went along with our Job series, and it was kind of tied into the whole idea of why we need to stop asking the question why so much in suffering and ask the question who God is in the middle of our suffering.
Yeah,
so that was a great one.
She's quite inspirational.
Yeah, she comes up a lot.
Yeah, she does. She comes up with a lot of great sayings. Most of the sayings that you go like, "Oh, Ryan, that was a good one." It's probably from her.
So shout out to you. Anything stand out from the that you would mention that didn't come up in the comments tonight, from as you look back, that were sort of pivotal or important?
The one thing that always, I tell you this all the time, is that your consistency to always bring the gospel forward in your message, in the way you communicate with people in our church. That's something that I really am inspired by and try to, approach relationships that way. The way you pull things from the text, you keep it about putting Jesus first and how our lives are impacted by him. And even this last message too, I know we're going to get into it, but I really appreciate the way that you do that every single week.
Oh, that's nice. Thank you for saying that. I appreciate that. Well, here we are. I hope no one's counting the number of times I say either.
Well, we have a tracker over here.
What are you keeping track of? Right? Keeping track of right. Okay. How are we doing on right so far? 10.
We haven't even started.
We haven't even started yet.
20? Oh, 20?
Really? Yeah.
Oh,
all right.
Okay. You know what? Why don't you do this? Why don't you come up here?
It's easy to poke fun from there,
exactly.
Isn't it? Who invited her? Just question. Just curious.
I did, actually.
Oh.
I go, this will be fun. Regret that
only
decision.
Blame yourself. Well, we're in a new podcast series. We're just kicking it off, Life on the Vine, that go along with our sermon series on Sunday morning. So probably a number of you got a chance to be at church yesterday and to hear the message. The series has been launched, Life on the Vine. And the idea is that, and this is perfect, the idea is that what we hear on Sunday morning, we want to live with during the week. And so here you are on Monday night, a chance to revisit it, to think a little bit more deeply about it. And then normally the podcast comes out Thursday, and a chance for you to kind of be reminded of it in the middle of the week and keep it percolating with you and keep thinking about these truths and these concepts from the Scripture throughout the week. So you've had a head start. Everything we talk about tonight will come out on Thursday for everyone else. And our goal is to really take a deeper dive into the messages in things that wouldn't make it into a Sunday morning necessarily. Maybe there are things I even think about after the fact that I go, this would have actually enhanced it, or just something I would have liked to develop a little bit further. Sometimes I've said along the way things I want to correct, but hopefully that's not the case very often, that I'm correcting things as much as just expanding some of the things that we've talked about. And this Life on the Vine launched with the idea of God as a gardener. And for us to be thinking in terms of God as the gardener of our life, it comes from John chapter 15. And the very first verse in John 15 says, Jesus says, I am the true vine, and my Father is the gardener. And it's a section of Scripture where he's giving this analogy of him being the vine and us being the branches. And he begins that way by describing himself not only as the vine, but as the true vine, and himself as the gardener, which led to the opening question from the beginning of the podcast. When something gets cut back in your life, do you see it as God's disappointment or his care? More than that, is every loss in our lives actually God pruning us? If not, how do we make sense of it? And I want to give us tonight 4 deeper dives. Things that didn't have a chance to really go deeply into from the message, but I think are springboards for further discussion, further conversation, further exploration for us as well. So it's kind of what we do, and you usually have the Scripture in front of you as well as the message outline.
I do.
Yeah.
I like to just kind of, follow along with you. I know you go a little, you don't go word for word for your message, but I follow along in that way, and, so, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Check. All right. Well, I want to start with the what I'm calling the pan out moment in the analogy, the pan out. As Jesus begins this teaching, he says, I am the true vine. And for most of us that are familiar with this passage, we want to add, and you are the branches. That's the thing that we think he's going to say next. He's the vine, we're the branches. And that's usually what we're thinking about. We're thinking about that connection. But Jesus doesn't say that, not out of the chute. He says that later in the chapter, but he begins this way, I am the true vine, and my Father is the gardener. And I think this is often overlooked in this teaching. We talk a lot about the vine-branch connection and how we need to be connected to him. But here it's almost as if the camera is zooming out. It's widening. There's this pan out, and suddenly we see beyond the branch and the vine connected together, we see standing over it the gardener, God the Father, standing over the plant and cultivating and caring for the plant. And I think that's just a great image that Jesus wanted us to see before he got into the details of the connection. He wanted us to see God the gardener shepherding over our lives and caring for that. And that's true of our lives as too. We don't often pan out. All we do is we focus in. We get so self-focused and problem-focused and situation-focused in our lives. And we're consumed with it. And I think there's so many times when Jesus would want us to just widen the camera, pan out, and kind of see God the gardener standing there caretaking for our lives.
Yeah.
It's like I guess I'm using a movie analogy here, but you sense what I'm saying, right?
Yes. Yeah, very much. I was my brother is a huge movie buff, and so he actually majored in it in college. And so I think at one point in time, this was back when like streaming was, before streaming was a thing. I think he was like 15 or 16 years old, and he had like over 300 movies in his collection. Like he just loved film and movies.
Yeah.
And so Francis Ford Coppola, which is a director, he's really known for having these really panned out views, and then it just zooms like right in, like really, really tight on something. And that's what came to mind when you were talking yesterday, that I was like, oh, that I totally understand how this image is making sense now, because like you said earlier, I always think the vine, the branches, it's like, that's the way we've always kind of heard that verse,
yes.
Said to us. And I was like, oh wait, no, it's kind of like there's this kind of bird's eye view, a gardener that, and then he can kind of then focus in on what needs to be pruned in our life or what needs to be cut out. And then he kind of also has that view that where you can zoom out too.
Yeah, I think that's exactly right. Jesus wants us to start with this bigger picture.
Yes.
Maybe, movie-like, where we're getting the scene, setting the scene before he zooms in on the intricacies of the details of the plant himself. And it helps us when we do that too, to remind ourselves to broaden our scope, our perspective on what's going on in our lives. If I put that another way, it would be that even when it comes to this passage about the analogy of Jesus as a vine, when we look close up, the close-up focus is this: abide in me, draw life from the vine, this intimate, personal. But if that's all we ever focus on, it can sort of end up feeling like a lot of the responsibility is up to me. Like I have to stay connected if that's all we focus on. I know we know that the life comes from the vine, but you go, well, Jesus is probably doing his part. So if he's doing his part, I'm the one that's missing out here. If it's not happening, I'm not staying connected to the vine. But when we broaden the view, when we step away from that and we see the camera pulling back, we start to realize that our growth is not self-managed. We are cared for by an expert, life gardener. The gardener is there intentionally at work in our lives to make sure that we do stay connected, to make sure we do stay healthy, that makes sure we do stay thriving. And he's great at it. He's the one who created us. He knows us best. And he's being very intentional in what he's doing. And to me, that really helps put the focus on God's responsibility of caring for me. Not that we don't have a role in to play, but to me, the bigger picture is God the gardener who's managing all of that.
Yes, yeah. I don't know if I've shared this story before, so y'all can check me if I'm wrong on this or if I have. But
why? Here's how we know, right?
I know.
Yeah, we say that like one of the things we'll say on the podcast is we go, well, I think we talked about this before. Not sure if we covered this before, and we don't know. We're looking around the walls and we're going, maybe we did or maybe we not. Now we can look around and people are going.
Have I shared the story of like that with the kids hockey team where I like?
Well, every week. So you have to be more specific. You have to be more specific.
The one where I say I'm not the best. I'm just the best you know. Have I shared that one before on the podcast? No. Yes. I have. Okay.
Everybody's saying yes.
Okay, I have. Never mind. We're just gonna cut that and then we're gonna move on. But I guess I could tell it again if you.
Yeah. I mean.
Okay, so it'll make sense. Trust me on this.
There's a connection.
There's a connection.
All right.
Okay. So I think in your message you were saying that are you going to take a piece of cake? This is the part where you can speed up the podcast, like 1.5, or something like that, 1.75. You're like, dude. Anyway, exactly. So on our first day of practice, right, I pull all the kids together and I usually throw out like a bucket of pucks, right? It's kind of like a typical coach thing. You get a bucket of pucks and you throw them out. But on the first day, I only grab one puck and I grab all the kids and I have them take a knee and I say, I'm so happy that you're here. I'm so excited you're on the team. We're going to have a great time. But let's get started on practice. And here's our first drill is that I have a puck and I go, okay, you have to take this from me now. Okay. And I go like full speed. Okay. Like there's no holding back. And they're like tripping over.
No, they have to skate with you and,
yes,
and
get the puck from me.
You.
Right. So I'm dangling that. I'm putting the puck through their legs. If they do touch the puck, I'll like lift their stick really quickly and I'm going full speed. They're like bumping into each other. They're like running into the boards and stuff. And and then so after about like 5 minutes or so, 10 minutes, I like pull them all back and they're all like drenched in sweat. Right. And I go, listen, I'm not the best hockey player. I know that. Right. I never made it to the NHL. I get it. I go, but I'm just the best one, Okay? So I think you need to listen to me as we go on in the season, right?
Yeah.
And I think, obviously, our Heavenly Father is the best one that we know, right?
Yes.
The best gardener that we know.
Yes.
So when he is correcting us, when he is pruning us, we should listen.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
There we go.
That's beautiful. Well said.
Thank you.
Well said. You get applause for that. I always worry about like preaching. I go, I don't want to tell a story that I've told before, at least not recently before.
Sure,
Hopefully it's been a long time ago. But now I know you get applause for it, so I'm just gonna go for it. I'm gonna start doing it.
I'm retiring that one now. That story's been retired.
I love it. That's good. That's good. He is the best gardener we know,
Yeah.
and he's the best gardener. Period. And so he is the best one to take care of our lives. I also think by seeing God as the gardener, it takes the individualistic focus out of it. Because when it's just the vine to the branch, I kind of just think about me. But when you step back and you go, God's the gardener, he's not looking at me, he's looking at all the branches of the plant. He's not just looking at the plant, he's looking at the entire vineyard. And so God is looking at us and our relationship with his people around us. He's looking at us and our relationship with the church as a whole. He's looking at us in his plan for the world. And so it gives this corporate feel to it. It's not just this individualistic view, but the pan out becomes really helpful. I've been surprised how many people ask me, they've said, what's the next series? And I tell them it's going to be on Life on the Vine from John chapter 15. And several people have said to me, like, that's the whole series? Like, they can imagine, like, I can imagine you doing a talk on that, but I can't imagine you doing a whole series on that. But already we're seeing that there's more in this passage than we probably think about. The reason they say that, I think, is because they're thinking, isn't it just about, abide in me and I in you, and apart from me you can't do anything? Isn't that the whole point? And there's more to it than that. So already into it, this God as gardener is a big part of what we need to see in this passage. It also helps make sense of disappointments. If you realize that God is the gardener of my life, then when life doesn't go the way we plan, the way we expect, it helps to make sense of that a little bit, which leads to the second deeper dive that I want to bring out. And that's really, I'll begin with a question. Can we attribute every loss to God's pruning? I mean, if God is the gardener and gardeners prune, does that mean every loss in my life is God cutting something away? Is there an equal sign here? I have loss, I have things trimmed away, things that have been taken away from me, it feels like to me, removed from my life. Does that mean that should I always say, well, I guess God's pruning me? Is that the always answer? And the answer is no. That's not the always answer. It oversimplifies things to say it that way. Our world is complicated and our lives are complicated, and Scripture holds multiple realities together when it comes to the disappointments in our lives. There's human choice that plays into the things that come our way. There's just the fact that we live in a broken world where sin has plays itself out in disease and pain and disappointment and hurt. And also we live in a world where there's spiritual resistance, where there's real forces that are pushing against God and against God's plan in this world. And so there's a number of reasons why loss can come into our lives, and God's pruning is only one of them. We can think of it this way. A gardener doesn't cause the storms, but he does deal with the repair and the restorations when the storms come. Mm-hmm. So some things come into our lives, and I don't want to say, well, it would be very simplistic and also cruel to say to someone, well, that happened because your loss happened because God was pruning you. That may or may not be true, and there's a lot of other factors that are probably playing into that. But we can say that God is a gardener in the middle of that loss, and he's always at work to bring restoration to it.
I loved yesterday too when you said that even though God prunes us, it means that he's not done with us yet.
Yeah.
There's this constant growth that's happening. It's the there might be a branch in the way you described it yesterday too, where like if there's a branch growing too strong onto another one, it's like you have to cut both of them back so that they can grow equally. And, that's just what our God does for us.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. I was going to say right, but I can't because someone's keeping track.
They're keeping track at home anyway. And just roll with it.
Yeah. So this is what people do when they're listening. You got to check that. I was looking at people at church on Sunday, and I was getting ready to preach, and I just know some of their stories, and I was thinking about some of the loss that they've experienced in their lives, and I wanted to make sure that I was clear on this in the way that I spoke about it yesterday, and even today in this podcast. I want to, that's why I want to go a little deeper into it. Here's a quote from the message yesterday. I said, and this can help us reframe some, but not all, just some of the disappointments in our lives. Because it's true that God's pruning, but it doesn't mean that's always the explanation or the reason why this happens. Let me categorize it this way. Some things in our lives they're direct pruning by God. The loss comes because God has directly seen the best outcome that can come by pruning those things away. Some is natural pruning. It just kind of happens by living in the world, the way that this world operates. And God uses that. So it's used by God. It's not pruning from him necessarily, but it's pruning that he uses. And then some comes from a broken world where there's there's horrific things that happen in our lives that are very detrimental, but then God redeems those things. So at whatever level, whether it's something that he's intentionally doing because he knows it's for our good, or something that he's using, or something that he's redeeming, God is always at the good gardener. He's at work in our lives to restore those things. I think about on the two extremes here, you've got Gideon and his army, and how God intentionally limited his army and said, I want you to cut back. You still have too many. Cut back further, just down to a handful of soldiers. That was purely God's pruning. He intentionally wanted to do that for the good and the benefit of Gideon and the people of God. But then you've got another example, like the selling of Joseph into slavery by his brothers, which was a horrible loss in his life and cut back of so much that was good in his life. But then Joseph was able to look back at that and say, you meant it for evil, which in fact they did, but God meant it for good. God was able to redeem it. So on the full scale of things, from those things that are purely God's pruning to those things that are horrific and just the devastation of a broken world, and anywhere in between, God is sending those things, using those things, or redeeming those things as a good gardener in our lives.
Right. I know. I thought it was very honoring that you brought in, people experiencing loss, and I know. Mandy and I, have been going through a lot of experiencing that a lot this last, year or so. But it made me think of Brandon Lake. Everybody knows him. He's a very famous worship leader. And we also do a lot of his songs, too, those of you keeping track at home.
For those that are tallying that.
It's Phil Wickham and Brandon Lake. They're tied neck and neck. But he... shared a really awesome story at one of his shows, and his parents had experienced 6 miscarriages before he was born, and the story of how he's changed the worship music scene, but also changed people's lives and bringing people closer to Christ. It's like that's the true story of redemption, and that's what our God does for us, and pulls us into that story of that. Sometimes we experience loss and it doesn't make sense and it stinks, but other times he can restore that and have our lives lead people to the cross.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. Amazing that God and seeing God as a gardener in our lives changes our perspective on that completely.
Yeah.
Thanks for sharing that. It reminds me of the series we did do in Job. I already mentioned it, but it's like we've developed this idea that it's probably not as helpful for us to spend a lot of time trying to figure out what part is God's pruning and what part is just the natural or the devastating brokenness of this world, but to realize who God is in the middle of that, the gardener that he is, and to put our trust and our faith in that. So the second thing is the loss isn't necessarily God's pruning. That was a deeper dive that I wanted to go. The third thing I wanted to say is there's the thing about the way this changes the way we think about how God sees us. When we see God as a gardener, it changes the way we think about how God looks at us. Not punishment, which is the natural way to think about it. Oh man, God must be mad at me. He's punishing me. That's why these things are, not there in my life that used to be there. But rather to see it as protection and preparation. Mm-hmm. God could be protecting us from things or preparing us for things, and we just don't know that. It's not rejection, but it's God's care for us. He's caring for us along the way. We're not being sidelined. I think that's the other thing. We tend to feel like, oh, God must be just kind of putting me on the side here. I'm no longer in the game. I guess I just am, kind of removed from effectiveness, especially when you start to see some fruit in your life that you thought, by that I mean just good results, positive results happening, and then they're not there anymore. And you kind of feel like, well, God, that season must be over, rather than realizing that God's doing that to make us more fruitful. Mm-hmm. It's not that he wants less, he actually wants more. And when you look at the passage, that's really what it's bringing out. It's not that God is distant. I guess that's another temptation for me to feel like, well, God's removed himself from me. I used to have his blessing, used to feel so close, and now God's distant. But this picture of the gardener with his hands right there on the branch, mm-hmm. cultivating and pruning and caring for the plant, means that God is right there, very close and intimate in our lives. He's not disappointed. He's actually investing in me. He's actually at work in my life.
Right.
And so the way that we view how God sees me becomes very different when we start to see God as the gardener.
Very much so. I tell our team all the time that I'm like, you learn more from your losses than you do your wins, right? Because in your wins, you're just happy that you won, and you might have scored a goal or two, or you had a great game, or you had a shutout or whatever. But when you lose at something, then you can go back and look and say, these are the moments where we could have done this better, or we could have executed this better, or this is an area that we need to work on. And so when we're doing that, when that happens in our life, when we lose something or there's a loss or something, we can feel God's presence in that moment. He's hands-on in our life, either through our church, through the people that we come in contact with, through our personal relationship with him. He's never done with us. You know what I mean? He's the true artist in our lives, and he's never done.
And we need to keep that perspective, because
very much so.
Because it's very tempting in that situation to feel like God has turned on you, mm-hmm. or somehow his blessing, his anointing, his care has been removed.
Yes.
And it's just the opposite.
Right.
He's caring for you. And this passage really brings that to light. The pruning is God's love, not his disdain for us.
Yes, very much so. Yeah.
Well, I got a fourth one I want to share, but before we do, I just want to do a little poll here, a little survey with those gathered. So if this was 0 and this is 100%, I'm just going to, have my hand go from 0 to 100 over here. Would you guys raise your hand? I'll go really slowly. Just raise your hand when you think we get to the percentage of how much we've talked about hockey in this all right, of the podcast so far, how much of it has covered hockey? Go ahead and just raise your hand. Anybody 0%, 10%? Raise your hand when I get to what you think, about 40%, 50%. Yeah, it's kind of... For those
I thought I was doing pretty good today.
You're making up for last week. Let's just put it that way. So for those who are just listening, watching, that was about 50%.
Okay, all right.
About 50%, which is fine. We still got more time. So.
Oh, brother.
Yeah.
We're going to get to 100.
I love it. That's awesome. All right. Well, the way this changes the way we think about how God sees us, that was the third one. And then the fourth one is kind of the thing that sort of surprised me a little bit as I got into this. And even, to be honest, even when I was speaking it in the message, it kind of hit me in a fresh way. And that is it's the value of long-term thinking. And what I mean from that, let me just give you a quote from the message. I said, one of the reasons that this is so uncomfortable is that pruning is quick, but new fruit takes time. Growth is often slow, uneven, and gradual. Nevertheless, God has this long-term view. We feel pruning right away, but fruit, it usually takes time. And so if it just feels like a huge step back, and there's this gap between the time we feel the pruning and the time we see the benefit. And that, I think, is part of the problem. For those who are, I know some of you are gardeners, some of you are. We have actually a horticulturist, and I should have consulted her on this message too. But there's time. But I think when you prune a plant, Cindy, you can tell me this. When you prune a plant, it kind of goes into a little bit of shock. No, there's a little bit of shock to the plant when you prune. Yeah. You're looking at me like, I'll go with that. Yeah.
Well, how do you know? Do they talk to you?
Aren't there signs?
No, Doug, don't cut me, Doug. Don't do it, Doug. No, Doug, not the scissors. How do they do it? What? Oh, there we go.
Someone that knows something about it. It depends when you prune it. So a good gardener knows when to prune too. Isn't that it? Whoa.
Oh, look at that.
That's good.
Well, we killed a succulent one time, so I don't know anything about plants.
Yeah. Well, anyway, yeah, it depends when you do it. So if a good gardener would know when to prune the plant and it doesn't create shock. I have a couple people nodding at me like they know something about this more than I do. So anyway, there is this sense of loss, or this, at least in our lives when God prunes us, there's this little bit of sense of loss, and we don't see the benefit. And because we're so short-term focused, we can we just get lost in that moment. We get lost in the loss and not in what the gain could be. And so I think the challenge for us is, with this long-term perspective, to start to see our lives like God is. He's not as immediately focused as we are. We tend to want everything instant. But the challenge for us is, can we trust what feels unproductive now because of what it will produce later? Are we willing to be comfortable with that? Those seasons in our life when it feels like it's a step back rather than a step forward. Even when we can't see the benefit immediately, are we willing to be comfortable with that, knowing that God the gardener sees that even when we don't?
Right.
Because otherwise we just get comfortable with being comfortable. We just like the way it is, and we just get set in our ways. And God has a way of shaking us up for good, because He wants to bring us more fruit.
What's happening over there? I'm afraid to look.
Her hand is going feverishly trying to keep track of the times I say something.
Oh,
anyway.
brother.
Who invited her?
I did.
All right, good job. Anyway, the value of long-term thinking, and I don't want to, miss that.
Something that came to mind when you were talking about that in your message too was the word discipline. The root word of that is to teach, to learn. And
like disciple,
exactly.
Yeah.
So that's what came to mind when you were speaking yesterday, and it's so true. As we as parents know, it's not always fun and going to go get ice cream with your kids. Like all the fun times. You have to discipline. You have to teach them. You have to, teach them how this world works and how there's consequences to actions and things that we say and all those things, and our Heavenly Father does that for us, on the daily. Yeah. Sometimes more than others, guilty.
Yeah. We should be grateful for that. And we, in the moment when it doesn't feel good, but in the long term, it's producing for us these long-term results, these long-term benefits that we usually don't see in the moment. We often don't see in the moment, but we can trust in the moment that God's at work, even when we don't see that. So the idea of long-term thinking, and long-term thinking might be that you have an idea. This could, I think a lot of times if we just stop and just pause and go, what could be a benefit of this? Sometimes things come right to mind. You start brainstorming with a wise friend, and you probably come up with some things that almost pretty quickly you can start to say, I can already start to see a few benefits from this. But even if you can't see that, even if it seems like there's no benefit or you don't know what it is, to trust in that moment that there's something that God sees that we don't.
Yeah.
And there's a benefit down the road that He's working for good in our lives.
I had a friend who was planting a church, and he was so focused on, getting people in the church and letting the community know that they were there and all this stuff, right? And he he became so like narrow focused, right, that he went to consult another friend of his, and he was like, oh, I don't know, like, we're not seeing the growth, and we're not, there's not a lot of people coming on Sundays and this and that. And he's like, but look at how faithful your small flock is. Like, look how faithful they are. You know what I mean? That's the fruit. And then you pour into them, and then that's when it'll grow. But it was like he almost got so narrow-minded that he lost track of what the real focus was,
That's good. That's another layer to this, and that is there are multiple measurements of health and growth.
Yeah.
And we tend to have a very narrow way that we're measuring impact and effectiveness and growth and health. And God has such a layered look at that with so many ways that he wants us to grow that we're probably not thinking about when he wants us to do so. So again, 4 deeper dives into the topic from Sunday morning. The pan out moment in the analogy when we widen our view and see God standing there. Secondly, that loss isn't necessarily God's pruning, but he always is at work, no matter the loss. The way that this changes the way we think about how God sees us. So we can see ourselves, we see him not as seeing us as frustrated or angry at us when disappointment comes, but rather at work. And it's a sign of his love and his care. And then finally, the value of long-term thinking, of looking beyond the immediate and looking to God's perspective of what would happen in the future. Well, hope that's helpful to think about some of those things and something that you'll take to. And if you got distracted tonight counting or something like that, you can listen to this when it comes out on Thursday and you'll be able to hear it, So we do invite listeners' questions to be a part of this. We had that Texas listener that I mentioned earlier. This wasn't so much a question as a comment. He said, give me advance warning when Ryan preaches so I can plan a trip to San Diego. So,
well, you're going to want to come the week before when you lead. So
I was thinking about it. We could do it the same Sunday, actually. I could lead worship and you could.
Sure.
And then you could preach and God would prune the church. It would be great. But I do have a couple from tonight that I did want to. We got some really good ones. That's a fun one. But I'm going to say this I got to choose a couple, and the others we will save for future podcasts.
That'll be fun.
We'll address. But this is a fun one. Who would win a game of horse between you and me?
Oh. I kind of think I would.
You obviously would.
Are we doing horses? Okay, sorry. I'm getting lost in the weeds here. But like, do I have to copy your shot because you're left-handed?
Well, depends who.
And you got the sky hook.
Horse, it could be either one. If I miss, then you get to lead. Well,
I'm shooting. I'm shooting threes.
You would win. You would win. Now, I would qualify that to say, me at your age and you at your age might be more competitive. But right now, no.
No.
Maddie in the audience beat me in a game of horse recently, so.
Right, and she hasn't beat me yet.
Yeah, she's pretty good. Yeah, she's pretty good. So
it's
anyway.
on. Let's
all right,
go.
So whoever asked that question, Ryan would win, clearly. All right, what about the gardener theme in John 15 and then John 20 with Mary Magdalene? What do you make of that?
Oh, interesting.
That's a great question.
Yeah, that is a good question.
And it actually is.
I'm going to phone a pastor right now. Pastor Doug.
Wes, what do you think?
Back to you, Doug.
Actually, that's a great question because I only have a small thing to say about this, and there's probably a lot more to say. But I think what this question is thinking about in John 20, when Jesus comes face to face with the risen Jesus, when Mary comes face to face with the risen Jesus, it says, supposing him to be a gardener. She thought he was a gardener at first. Well, that tells us a couple things. We know that the tomb was in a garden, and so it would make sense that there would be a gardener there because it was a garden tomb. And so supposing him to be the gardener, in other words, why would someone be there that early? If it must be just to kind of work on the grounds. There must have been something about that where Jesus's image was somehow kept from her recognizing him, whether that was something that he kept others from recognizing him, or in his risen bodily form, he looked differently enough that people didn't immediately recognize him. But the thing I love about that is just the idea that imagining him or thinking that he was a gardener. One of my favorite preachers is Charles Spurgeon, and he did a whole sermon with the title of the sermon was "Supposing Him to be a Gardener," and then he developed this whole thing of like Jesus as gardener, and it's was classic Spurgeon-esque sermon. But I don't know what more I could say about that on the fly, but I would just say that is a wonderful repeated theme that there Mary, seeing the risen Christ, imagining him to be a gardener. Now, of course, she was mistaken, but there is something true about Jesus in our lives, still being a gardener in our lives. And so imagining him to be a gardener and thinking about all the ways, it certainly is worth our time and our effort to spend some time reflecting on it. I think I said it a couple times in the sermon on Sunday. I said, I think it's worth reflecting on this, that God is a gardener in our lives, and to really let that soak in for us personally as well. So good question. Good question. Well, I told you about the sign here that was donated by anonymously to us, the recording sign. Frankly, all of our merch has been donated along, whether it's our cups or our pucks or the two sides to every puck that all of you, I think most of you got at your tables, the bottle top openers. And also anonymously, someone donated some giveaways for you tonight. So we have some giveaways, and this connects with the playing card that you have on your table. So if you look at that playing card, and I am going to shuffle these up here. You all have red cards, and I have the black version of those cards, the counterpart. I'm going to say that the spades are diamonds, and the clubs are hearts. So.
Wait, what?
Well, because they have the red cards.
Oh, they have the red
cards.
cards. Oh, yeah.
So
okay,
I'm just gonna, convert it over. So we have 3 gifts. And Bethany, would you mind delivering those gifts to the people that win? All right. So the first one,
is it Bethany Zabrowski or Vanna White? I don't know.
Vanna White. Let's do that. Draw a card.
I want to go over here.
All right. Go ahead. What do you got?
Queen of Clubs.
Queen of Clubs would go along with the Queen of Hearts. Who's the Queen of Hearts?
Hey!
Oh, right back here. All right. Bethany's going to come around to you. And we have 3 of these. So the second one, actually, the second one, go ahead and draw a card here. Go back over here. Is the 2 of Hearts. Who's got the 2 of Hearts? Woody right here has that. And then we'll do one more. And that is, go ahead, one more. Here we go. Oh, they're all hearts. The King of Hearts. King of Hearts, Maddie, who has won way too many things.
She has way too much stuff.
Yes. So there you go. And one of them goes to Woody as well over there. So, yeah. And just send the boy across the camera. Don't worry about that.
I don't know if you know this, but this is a very professional production that we run around here.
Wow.
Whose kid is that?
All right. Well, if you would like, I promise you wouldn't have to say anything or have to appear on camera. But if you would like, I'm going to invite you to join us behind the 2 of us for the sign-off. So if we like to have most of you, unless you're camera shy, come on up. Gather behind us. We're going to do a group photo for the sign-off.
Come on.
And you guys can wave goodbye. So you get a sense of including your stuffed animals. Bring up your stuffed animals if you have them. All right. All right, here we go. We got a couple more that are gathering nearby. All right, well, thank you. Hopefully this has been helpful to you as we've discussed these things tonight. Thank you to Ryan.
Thank you, Doug.
Thank you to our enthusiastic viewers and listeners. And if you would all wave goodbye as I say this. Until next time, you've been listening to Unhurried with Doug Kyle, my co-host Ryan Viramontes. I look forward to talking soon. And that's a wrap.